Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, students. In the first part, we have seen about the origin and growth of statistic, quantitative and qualitative data, primary and secondary data. Now, moving ahead, methods of collecting primary data means how many kinds of methods are there through which we can collect the first data. Okay. Now, see, there are many popular methods for the collection of primary data. Popular method means numerous methods are there and they are very popular also. So numerous methods are there for the collection of primary data. Commonly used methods are, means rarely, no, mostly the methods which we are using, not rarely, mostly the methods which we are using, that is direct inquiry, indirect inquiry, inquiry by telephone or email, method of questionnaire, inquiry by local news reporter. So this is your 1 mark question also, that name the methods which are used for primary data. So they are direct inquiry, indirect inquiry, inquiry by telephone, email, methods of questionnaire, inquiry by local news reporter. Now let me make you clear with a one word. Direct inquiry means face to face we are doing the inquiry. Indirect inquiry means by some other person or by giving the authority to other person that you should do the inquiry. Inquiry by telephone, on telephone we can ask the questions, by email we can ask the questions, method of questionnaire by yes no question, inquiry by local news reporter, a normal person reporter will be going and he will be asking the questions. So these are the methods for finding the primary data. We shall study the following 3 methods of collecting primary data, but in this chapter we are only going to study the 3 methods. Okay, the 3 methods are direct inquiry, indirect inquiry and method of questionnaire. Is that clear? Which 3 methods are used for collecting primary data? So that is direct inquiry, indirect inquiry and method of questionnaire. Now the first one, direct inquiry. Direct inquiry means face to face we are asking the person that what are the problems, what are the queries, how you are doing, what are the things like that. Okay, now going word to word. In this method, an investigator himself or an enumerator appointed by him visit personally to the field and collects the necessary information. Now, what is the word given over here? Investigator or enumerator. The person who wants the detail, okay, that person will be going personally and asking the question to the particular other person. Appointed by him. Enumerator appointed by him means the main or first person will be appointing some other person and he will be going on behalf of him and asking the question. Personally to the field, will be going at that place, meeting that person and collects the necessary information. Now see here, for example, if a person wants to collect data about the condition of a farmer, a person is there who wants the necessary details of the farmer of Sanand Taluka of Ahmedabad district. He must go to Sanand Taluka, contact the farmer and obtain the data regarding their condition. So what he will be doing, that person will be going directly to his field and he will be asking question to that particular farmer. So that is known as what? Direct inquiry. A will be going directly to B for asking the question. Okay, that is known as a direct method. The information obtained by this method is called data collected by direct inquiry. Whatever the details we are gathering, what are the informations we are getting, then that particular information will be known as that the information obtained by the method of direct inquiry. Similarly, a person interested in knowing the health status of the students of municipality schools of Ahmedabad city personally meets the student of municipality school and asks questions pertaining to their health and collects the necessary information given by them. Now here the second example is given, that there is a person who wants to know about the condition, health condition of a municipality students. So he will be going himself to that particular school. He will be asking each of the particular student the questions related to their health and he will be gathering the information by personally him. Okay. This is also called direct inquiry. So this particular example is also related to direct inquiry. Is that clear? Again, what is direct inquiry? Direct inquiry means a person is going personally at that particular place for knowing the particular condition of the next person, then that is known as a direct inquiry. A is going directly to meet B, that is known as direct inquiry. Okay. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of this particular method? Now see here, the data obtained by this method are accurate and reliable. You can underline the word that is for keyword, that is accurate and reliable. Okay, first point, accurate and reliable. Accurate means up to the mark, proper. Reliable, we can trust it. Why? Because we will be going directly to take the details face to face. We will be asking the questions, we ourselves will be going at that place, so we can get a proper result and we can trust it. Okay, second, due to face to face interview with respondent means person B, the other person from whom we are gathering the details, enumerator can solve any questions or doubt or any confusion given by the proper explanation. Now, what is the question given here? When A means a particular investigator, he is going to meet the person B, that is known as a respondent. If that person A is having any of the query means any of the questions are there which he is unable to solve or which he is not clear, he can directly ask to that particular person. So that is what the confusion can be clear at that particular point. So here what we can underline, can solve any questions or doubt or any confusion by giving a proper explanation. Respondent, A can ask the question to B and he can make it clear by a proper explanation. Third, by personal interview, enumerator sometimes gets supplementary information of the respondents which may be useful at the time of interpretation of the result. Supplementary means related to a particular session of interview, what kind of interview he is taking, related to that only. Supplementary means related to that particular topic only. He will be getting more information which will be helpful for interpreting the result. Interpreting the result means at the end what the result which we are getting, that whether it is good or bad. So for identifying that, this supplementary extra information or other information will be good. So you can underline supplementary information useful at the time of interpretation of the result. Is that clear? Next, fourth, this method is much better when the field of inquiry is limited, small area. When small area is there, small or direct inquiry method can be used. So you can underline when the field of inquiry is limited. Sometimes when respondents are unwilling to give particular type of information, the enumerator can get such information indirectly by asking supplementary question. Now what here they have said, sometimes when respondents are unwilling to give particular type of information, when the respondent, when B person does not want to give any kind of a particular answers, he don't want to give the answers of that question, at that time what the enumerator will be doing, he will be asking an indirect question related to that particular topic only. He will be twisting it, he will be asking in some supplementary manner, so he will be getting that particular answers. Okay, when B is not ready to give the answers of that particular question, A will be asking related to that only some other questions to get that particular answer, and giving assurance against the misuse of the information provided by him. Now A will also give the assurance. Assurance means he will be giving the surety that his particular information will not be misused. No one will be making the wrong use of this particular information. So here you can underline unwilling to give a particular type of information indirectly by asking a supplementary questions. Get indirectly by asking a supplementary question. Then misuse of the information provided by him. Assurance against the misuse of the information provided by him. Now again, advantages. First point, it is accurate and reliable. Second point, face-to-face interview we are taking, so we are able to sort out any kind of a question. Third point, supplementary, other details can also be getting over there, and which will be helpful for getting the accurate result. Only be used where the limited areas are there. If the person B is not ready to give that answer of that particular question, A will be asking some other question based on that particular topic, and also giving the surety that his information is not going to be misused. Clear that? Now this we have seen the advantages, but direct inquiry have some disadvantages also. Now see the disadvantages. This method require more time, more number of enumerators when the field of inquiry is very wide. Now what they are telling, direct inquiry method required more time. Obviously when we are collecting a data for the very first time, it will be very lengthy procedure, it will be needing the time also, it will be needing the energy also, and it will be needing the money also. Second, what they are telling, more number of enumerator, number of people will be required when the field of inquiry, when the area is very wide, very big. Is that clear? If the area is limited, less number of enumerator, but if the area is very big, more number of enumerator. So you can underline more time, more number of enumerator. Second point, this method is more expensive. See, got it here? It is said to be more expensive because we have to move each and every places, we have to meet that person, X person, Y person, we have to waste the money for this inquiry, for gathering. So it is said to be one kind of an expensive method also. Third point, the information collected by this method may be less reliable if the enumerator are untrained. Enumerator means what? We are assigning some other person to gather the detail on behalf of us. Okay, not the investigator. Enumerator. Investigator is different and enumerator is different. Investigator is appointing an enumerator to find the details on behalf of him. So what the saying is coming here, if the enumerator is not a trained person, so whatever the information this person has collected, it won't be reliable, we cannot trust it. Is that clear? So less reliable when enumerator is untrained. Is that clear? Now 3 disadvantages are there. Needs more time and more enumerator, it's more expensive, and it is less reliable if the enumerator is untrained. Clear here? This was the direct method. In direct method, A and B person will be talking directly. Now indirect method means we are appointing some other person, or some other will be doing the work on behalf of us. Now see here, indirect inquiry meaning, in any of the following situation, the investigator contact an organization or a person capable of conducting inquiries and gets relevant information from such organization or a person. Now what is the question meaning coming over here for indirect inquiry? Indirect inquiry means investigator coming in touch of any organization for gathering the detail, or he can appoint a person who is capable to find the inquiry, or he is getting the inquiry from any organization or a person. He himself is not going, he is gathering the detail from any organization, any institute, or by any person. That is known as what? Indirect inquiry. Means A is there, he is giving the authority to B. Okay, he is not directly going and meeting that particular B person. B person, we have said what? The opposite person. For getting the detail, A is appointing the C to find out the situation about the B. So A is appointing C, either any organization. C is said to be what? Any organization, any other person who is gathering the detail related to the B. Is that clear? So that is known as what? Indirect inquiry. Now see here, first point, when direct source does not exist. Direct source means at that particular place we cannot go, it is unable to go over there, or the particular place is not comfortable, the person cannot go there. So when to gather some information, the source is not there, at that time he will be appointing some other person, C person will be appointed. Second, when the field of direct inquiry is very large, direct inquiry is very large, and there is lack of time for personal contact with the respondent. Now what is said, very large area is there and the person is not having time also. So what he will be doing? He will be appointing C to ask the detail for the B. Is that clear? Third, when the information to be obtained is complex. Complex means very complicated. It is not very easy to get the answers to the particular question. At that time we will be appointing C. When the cost associated with direct inquiry is unbearable. Unbearable means very expensive. Cost is very expensive. When face to face we can go for the question answer session, but it is very costly. At that time we will be taking the help of C, any organization or any person. Is that clear? So 4 area they have given. Direct source is not possible when the field of direct inquiry is very large, when the information is very complicated, very complex, very expensive. At that time we will be using indirect inquiry. The method of collecting information in such a way is called indirect inquiry. Is that clear? From all this 4 point, any one of the point we are using, then that particular information which we are getting, that information is said to be indirect inquiry information. In this method, the information is obtained with the help of third party instead of enumerator. Now here, enumerator is not there, any third person. We are giving the work to some other person, not the enumerator. Okay, third person. See here, the third party will be given the work to find the detail. For example, in the earlier illustration, a person interested in getting the information about the condition of a farmer of a Sanand Taluka approaches the Talati of Sanand Taluka, who has the entire information of all the farmers in the Sanand Taluka, and gets information from him instead of personally visiting the each farmer. Now here what was there? Indirect inquiry, what we have seen, that investigator or enumerator is directly going to that farmer and asking the condition of the farmer. But here what the particular person will be doing, what the investigator is going to do, the investigator will be going to a talati. A talati is a particular place where they are having all the information related to the farmers. He will be asking from this organization about the condition of the farmer. Is that clear? So he is not directly going and asking the question to the farmer himself, but he is going to the third person. Then that third person from whom we are taking the information, that will be known as the method of indirect inquiry. Clear? A person interested in information of the educational status of the workers of an industry having 2000 workers approached the manager of the industry, who has complete records of the workers of the industry, instead of making personal visit to each worker. Now here what is the particular thing? One, a person interested in information of the educational status. A person is there who want to know the educational status of the workers, and there are 2000 workers in the factory. So he will be going to the manager who is having all the record, rather going and talking with the this particular workers one by one. He will be approaching to the manager and asking the details related to the workers. So again, manager is said to be a third person, and this method is said to be indirect inquiry. Similarly, advocate can get information regarding murder, theft from the police station when needed. Again here, advocate needs some information, so he won't be going to the criminal person himself and asking the question, but he will be going to the particular information regarding the murder. He will be going to the police station related to the particular theft or murder, whatever he has done. He will be going to the police station and he will be asking the inspectors related to the thing. So here the inspector is said to be a third person, and the information which he is gathering, that will be known as what? Indirect inquiry method. Is that clear? Thus the method of indirect inquiry is quite popular in practice. Mostly people are using that apart from going face to face and having the personal conversation. However, the reliability of the information obtained by this method depends on the ability, honesty and experience of the enumerator who collect the information. Now what it is being said about the reliability, whether we can trust or not. So the person either it is an authority, either it is a person, any third person, it depends upon the particular enumerator, that how he is. If he is honest, if he is loyal to his work, he is having lots of experience, then we can trust that this information is correct. But if the enumerator is not loyal, he is not doing his work very properly, he is unexperienced person, so we cannot trust on this particular information. Is that clear? So in indirect inquiry method, the third person who is being appointed, that person should be honest and he should be well experienced person. Clear? Now seeing its advantages and disadvantages. First, this method is most suitable when the field of inquiry is very wide, very big. When the area to gather the information is very large, then we can use this indirect inquiry method. So underline here, field of inquiry is very wide. Second, when a respondent associated with the inquiry is not willing to give the information, this is the only useful method to collect the information. Here, when A is not ready to give any kind of information, then we can use indirect method. We can appoint any third person who can know him, who the A can reliable on him, the A can have a trust on him, and he will be giving the information to that third person, C person. Then we can use this particular method. So here we can underline respondent is not willing to give the information. Third point, it involves less cost, time and energy as compared to direct inquiry method. Is that clear? It is less cost, occurring less expense, time also less, and energy also less. Why? Because the person himself is not going, he is going to appoint some third person. So for him it will be very for less amount, it will be for less time, because he will be having his own time, the other person will be wasting his time. He will be having his own energy, the other person is wasting his energy. Okay, now the fourth point, this method is very much useful for various departments of government to collect various types of information. Government people are using them. Okay, the government person himself is not going everywhere, they are appointing any third person to gather the details, they are giving the works to other to complete their work. Okay, so this direct indirect method is useful to the government in various departments. Clear here? Now let's see again the keywords, advantages of indirect. Used where it is a very large area. Second, if the respondent is not willing to give the answer, we can use this method. Third, it occurs less cost, time and energy. And fourth, various departments of government are using this method. Now it also has some disadvantages. Let's see. When individual or organization associated with the task of providing information have any prejudice or bias attitude, the information become less reliable. Means they are doing biasness, they are finding differences, they are having some differences with each other. In Hindi what we can say, भेदभाव करना. Okay, like this. So prejudice or bias attitudes, not to give correct information, having some particular of envy type of nature with the other person, so they won't be giving a correct information to us. So at that time the details which we are getting from any of the organization, that won't be less reliable. Second, the method become useless when the third party from whom the information is obtained is dishonest, inefficient or unable to provide correct information. This we have seen ahead only. If the enumerator is not honest, if he is not finding the details properly, if he is not doing his work very nicely, then whatever the detail, whatever the information we are getting, it will be very less reliable. So here we can underline the word prejudice or bias attitudes, then information becomes less reliable. Then when the third party is dishonest, inefficient or unable to provide correct information, at that time also this method is not useful. Is that clear? Now the third method of questionnaire. Method of questionnaire is very easy, means yes no type of questions are only we are asking. A list of logically arranged questions relevant to the object of the study is made. Now here which kind of a question will be there? There will be a list of a question, not more than 20 or 30. A very small amount of questions will be asked. There will be in yes or no and related to the particular study only. So a list of logically arranged questions relevant to the object of the study is made, that is known as method of questionnaire. One list is made related to that particular study, but logic questions are being there, then that is said to be a method of questionnaire. The space between the question is provided for the answer. After each question there will be a space between two questions, that space is given for the answer. A list of questions prepared in such a way is called questionnaire. Now your answer, that what is questionnaire method, so you have to write this. A list of logically arranged questions relevant to the object of the study is made, full stop, the space between the questions provided for the answer. Then a list of this question prepared in such a way is called questionnaire method. Questionnaire. Is that clear? The method of obtaining information using such type of questionnaire is called method of questionnaire. The way through which we are gathering the information, from the which questions we are gathering the information, then that particular method is known as method of questionnaire. Okay. The question in the questionnaire should be short and simple. How the question should be? It should be short and simple, so that the respondent can understand the questions and easily answer them. Simple it should be there, short should be there, that the person B can understand it and they can answer it. This method is quite useful when the field or area from which the information is to be collected is very wide. Where we are using this method of questionnaire, where the particular area, the area is very wide, at that time we will be using this method. Since there is a considerable saving of time, cost in this method, it is most economically method of inquiry. Economically means very cheapest we can use. It can save the time also and it can save the money also. So we can use this particular method. Questionnaire may be used in direct inquiry as well as in indirect inquiry. Where we can use this method? We can use in indirect also and in indirect also. In both the method we can use this method of questionnaire. There are two ways of collecting information by questionnaire. Now again, questionnaire, method of questionnaire is divided again in the two part, that is by post and by enumerator. By post means, by post we will be making one question paper and we will be sending at their place at home, and second, enumerator means the person himself will be going at that place and we will be asking the details. Okay, there are two method of questionnaire, that is by post and by enumerator. By enumerator means what? That the person will be going himself to that particular place of B and he will be asking the question. Before discussing the above two method in the next session, we shall discuss the point which should be kept in mind for drafting an ideal questionnaire. Ideal questionnaire means a perfect questionnaire. How a perfect question should be there. A paper which is there. How a perfect question paper should be made. So before we will be discussing the method, we will see that what point should be there in an ideal questionnaire. So your next point is characteristics of an ideal questionnaire. This is also your question which can come in 2 mark or 3 mark. The success of collecting data depends mainly on the design of the questionnaire. Means whatever the data we want to collect, its particular successful result, its positive result only depends how the question we are making, how the question paper we are making, how the type of questions we are asking. So all the success and positive things depends upon the design of the questionnaire. A well-designed questionnaire is known as ideal questionnaire. Well designed means we are perfectly designing. Design means not any color or any kind of a pattern. The way of asking the question, the way of presentation how we are doing, the way of particular sequence how we are making, that is known as an ideal questionnaire. Following points should be kept in mind while drafting an ideal questionnaire. Okay, so here also I will give you some keywords. You have to remember that and you can form in your own words. No need to ratify the particular each and every sentence. Understand them and you have to write it. Now see the first point. Every questionnaire must have a covering letter or an appropriate title so that the reader gets clear idea about the purpose of the study. Covering letter means the particular question paper should have a particular cover. Then appropriate title, it should have a particular topic, that on what particular basis he has to give the answer. So topic should also be given so that the reader gets clear idea about the purpose of the study. So he must be clear that he has to give the answers based on this particular thing. So what should be there? Covering letter should be there and appropriate title. Okay. Next, number of questions should be as minimum as possible. So how many questions? Minimum. Minimum means 25 or more, but not more than 30 or something. The fewer number of questions have greater chance of getting better response from the respondent. If we are asking less number of questions, then we can get a proper response from the respondent. But if we are asking numbers of questions going on, then the respondent get tired and he won't be giving the answers properly. Okay, he can only go with yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Randomly he will be giving the answers. But if the questions are in limited number, then he can read it and he can give the answers very nicely. Long question discourage the respondent to provide accurate answers, particularly towards the end of the questionnaire. Is that clear? So what is there? Discourages him. Long questions discourage them, so he won't be giving the proper answers. There is no specific rule for exact number of question. Not an exact figure is there that it should be 20 questions, 15 question, okay. But what is said, if the number of question is large, say 25 or more, it is advisable to divide the questionnaires into various parts to ensure clarity of question. But if the enumerator is having so many questions, then he should divide the questions into particular session type, or first he is giving only 10 or 15, then next time he is giving other question. It should be divided like that, it should be there. But if it is possible, we should ask only a minimum questions. So here only you have to take a first line, number of questions should be minimum as possible. You won't be writing like this all. Here every questionnaire must have a covering letter or an appropriate title so that the reader gets clear idea about the purpose of the study. Second, number of questions should be as minimum as possible, only that much. Third, the number of question in the questionnaire should be considered with the purpose of inquiry. Most important, whatever the questions we are asking, the question should be related to the topic only, related to the studies only. We should not ask the question out of the topic. Is that clear? So here we can underline number of question should be with the purpose of inquiry. Is that clear? With our purpose of study only. Question should be simple, short and understandable. How the question should be? The question should be simple, short and understandable. It should be easy, it should be small, and the person can understand it. They should not be ambiguous and dual in meaning. Ambiguous, confusing, dual, two saying should not be there. That kind of a question we should not ask. For example, if the question is, are you educated? Means what he is telling, the respondent cannot understand the meaning of educated. Does it mean the education up to secondary or higher secondary or graduate? Is that clear? Means he is asking, are you educated? But educated up till what? Either he is asking secondary, higher secondary or graduate level. This is a confusing word. Dual questions are there. Instead, the question should be, what is your education level? This is a proper question, that what is your education level? How much you have studied that. Following 5 options can be considered for the answers of this question. We can give the options also to them. So the options up to primary, up to secondary, up to higher secondary, up to graduate or up to uneducated. So these are the options also we can give. Is that clear? So fourth one is question should be simple, short and understandable. Fifth, the arrangement of the question should be logical, we should arrange them. The order of the question should be from general to specific, from normal to the main topic we can start. For example, A, what is your opinion about the smartphone? First this. Then B, do you use smartphone? First he is asking that according to you, how the smartphone are. Then we should ask him, either you are using it or not. This is improper arrangement of the question. The correct order what it should be, B should be first. Are you using the smartphone? Then second, according to you, what's your opinion? So that is the correct logical word. Means in an appropriate common sense, the common sense should be there. That first we should ask this question. You should not ask that according to you how the particular thing is, how the particular smartphone should be. But first we should ask him that do you have the smartphone? Then we can ask him either you are using it, what is your opinion for it. Okay. So here arrangement of the question should be logical. Then next, 6th point, questions of sensitive nature of personal life should be avoided. Here means we should not ask any question related to their personal life. Is that clear? No question should be asked related to personal life. For example, questions relating to marital status, other source of income of the respondent, etc. If such questions are necessary in the survey, an assurance should be given to the respondent that information provided by her will be kept confidential and will not be used for any other purpose. As much as possible we should avoid the personal life question, but if it is very needy in the survey, then we should assure the respondent that we are not going to use your details anywhere. Then only we should ask that particular question, but mostly we should avoid the personal questions. 7. Answers to the question should be free from any calculation. Any numerical calculation form questions we should not ask them. Only yes no type of question should be there. No calculation type of question should be asked. For example, avoid the questions like what is the average income of the earning members of your family. Then he has to go on counting that how many members are there, how much they are earning. So then he has to give the detail to that particular question. So that type of question should be avoided. 8. The question having answer yes or no or multiply alternative should be asked. So what kind of a question should only be there? Yes or no or multiple choice MCQ type of question should be there. But the question whose answers do not have specific option should be avoided. But the questions which are not related with yes, no or MCQ, that should be avoided. We should not ask them. For example, what is your opinion about the semester system against the yearly system in the education? Since there are a lot of variation in the answer like strongly in favor, neutral, against, strongly against, they are difficult to tabulate or interpret. Hence, if necessary, there must be minimum number of such questions in the questionnaire. Means this kind of a questions who are having many options, that kind of a multiple choice of question should not be asked. Okay, who are having number of options, we should not ask that kind of a question. So again, a keyword I am discussing with you, characteristic of ideal questionnaire. Covering of the letter should be there, a topic, a title, name should be there. That will be easy for the respondent that on what topic he has to give the answer. Second, minimum number of questions should be asked. Third, number of questions should be related to the inquiry. Fourth, the question should be simple, short and understandable. Fifth, arrangement of the question should be done logically. Sixth, it should not be related with any personal life question, and if it is necessary, we should assure them that it won't be leaked or it won't be discussed with any other person. 7, free from any calculation. 8, should be yes no type or multiple choice of question. Is that clear? So only you have to remember that. You don't have to write all these points also. Only remember this point and you have to write it. Is that clear? So this is a perfect questionnaire paper, that how the question should be. These are said to be the characteristics of ideal questionnaire. Is that clear? They have given this particular style also, that this kind of a question should be there. This is one particular sample they have given. Okay. Now coming to the next, questionnaire by post. Questionnaire by post means here, after preparing an ideal questionnaire, it is dispatched by post to the respondent from whom the information is to be collected, along with a request to complete and return it in a given time of period. Once we have prepared the question paper, we will be dispatching it by post to the person place, and we will be also requesting him to complete it and return it in the given time period. A time period will be given, a date will be given in it, that before this date you have to send it back. So he will be sending it. Therefore, it is not necessary to send a blank envelope along with the questionnaire to all the respondents bearing the address of an investigator and a proper postal stamp. Along with that, what the person will be sending, what A will be sending, he will be sending a blank envelope, he will be sending the address also, and also a proper postal stamp inside of that particular envelope only. Means the respondent don't have to waste his time, money or something. He will be getting everything, only he has to put it inside, he has to put the stamp over there, and he has to just post it. Okay. Since the answers of the question are given by the respondent themselves, it is essential that the question in questionnaire are clear, short, simple, relevant and self-explanatory. Now what here it is being given, the enumerator will not be there at his home. He will be himself. B will be alone himself. So when the particular questions are to be attended by the person himself alone, How the question should be: clear, short, simple, relevant to the study, and self-explanatory. Self-explanatory means he can understand it. Okay. Nowadays, questionnaire may be sent through computer, email and mobile phone also. Now, apart from this post, what is the method? We can use email also, and we can use mobile phone also. So there is no need to send the question by post. By email or by mobile phones also we can send the questionnaire. Is that clear? Now, same way, advantages and disadvantages are there. Advantages: this method of collecting data is quite useful when the field of investigation is very vast. Vast means big. When the area is very big, we can use this method. Underline very vast. This method is simple and it provides large amount of information with less expense. What is there? This method is simple. Simple means A will be preparing the question and will be giving to C. He himself will be making the question answers and everything and will be giving back. So this is simple also, and not large amount we have to invest. We will be having less expense. 3. By this method, investigator can get information from respondent of those area where it might be difficult to reach personally or by telephone. The area is with the area which are very complicated, not able to go. Okay, such kind of areas are there. So at this particular area where the person cannot reach himself personally, this method is very useful. So here you can underline difficult to reach personally or by telephone. So in this particular area, the questionnaire method is very advantageous. Again, first, where the area is very big, we can use this method. Second, it is very simple and less expensive. Third, where the particular investigator cannot go himself, he can use this particular method either by phone or by any post method. Now, what are the disadvantages of this method also? When respondents are illiterate or non-cooperative, this method becomes useless. Illiterate means not an educated person, he cannot read. Non-cooperative means he do not want to give the answer, usko cooperate nahi karna hai, he don't want to cooperate, then this method becomes useless. So underline when it is illiterate or non-cooperative. Second, sometimes information provided by the respondent may not be correct, or they may return incomplete or blank questionnaire to the investigator. Now, what is the second particular disadvantage they are telling? That the person himself will be giving all the details, so he may not be writing the correct detail, or he can give it back incomplete. He can give the answers of few and he won't be giving the answers of the other, or he is not ready to give the answers only. He will be returning back without any answers. Third, there may be a loss of questionnaire or delay in getting the information because of the laziness of the respondent. The person can lose the particular question paper, or because of his laziness he can delay it. So this is also one kind of disadvantage. There is a lack of assistance or a person who clarifies the instruction or gives explanation of the question that may arise. Assistance means if the person is having some confusion, we cannot make it clear. We cannot make we cannot give him a proper idea that what the question want to say. So he won't be giving a proper answer to it. He can understand that he cannot understand the meaning, and he can identify that this is a question what he is telling. He can understand something else, so there is misinterpretation in the question, so he won't be giving the answers properly to it. Okay, if the person is not there, this problems arises. So what are the disadvantages? A person is not educated, he is non-cooperative, so the problem will be arising in this question. The person is not ready to give the correct answers, he can give incomplete details, or he can give the blank question paper back. The third is what? That he may lose the question paper, or he is not because of his laziness there will be delay in getting the details. And what will be the fourth? Because of the assistant, no one is there to assist him, he is not getting a proper clarification to this question, so he can answer something else related to that particular topic, so misinterpretation will be coming over there. Is that clear? So this is said to be by post method. Now, questionnaire by enumerator, person himself is going, just like a direct method we can say. In this method, enumerator themselves cannot contact the respondent and get response to the question. Now what is there? In this method, person himself will be going at a respondent place and getting the answers himself directly face to face. Enumerator himself fills the question. He will be only asking whether you are doing this, whether you are using it or not. The person will be answering and the other person will be writing, enumerator will be writing. Thus the difference between the earlier method and this method is that in earlier method the questionnaire is sent to the respondent by post, whereas in this method enumerator carry the questionnaire and personally meet the respondent. So here they are telling that what is the difference between this two method. So in this method we have sent the question at the person place, and here the enumerator is going at the person place and he is carrying the question and asking the question by himself. Here the enumerator should be enthusiastic, polite, honest and efficient in their work so that they can extract correct answers to the question by providing relevant and supplementary information to the respondent. Now how the person should be? Enthusiastic, energetic. He should be polite, he should be honest, he should be efficient toward the work. Then only he can get a particular answers. If he is doing his work in hasty, that fast he want to complete, then he won't be getting any perfect answers. He should be very polite. He should not get angry that why you are not answering very fast, why you are telling that or that. He should be honest. If the person is telling something else and he is writing something else, that should not be there. Okay. The enumerator are also instructed to create friendly atmosphere without entering into any controversy or showing any disrespect towards the respondent. Friendly means he should not ask any kind of personal questions, not such question which makes the respondent angry. Like that question should not be asked. He should create an atmosphere very nice over there. Is that clear? So questionnaire by enumerator means the person himself is carrying the question at the respondent place and asking the question clearly by him. That is known as the method of questionnaire. Now this method is also having some advantages and disadvantages. Let's see it. Advantages. The complete, correct and more relevant information can be obtained from the respondent by selecting proper enumerator. If the enumerator is trained, then he will be getting complete, correct and relevant information. Relevant means related to the topic we will be getting the information. Second, enumerator can get proper information by giving proper explanation to the respondent who are illiterate or non-cooperative. If the respondent is uneducated or he is not ready to give the answers properly, but if the enumerator is very efficient and he is very knowledgeable, he is able to convince the person, he is able to clarify him, then he will be getting the proper answers from that particular person. In this method, there is no problem of loss of questionnaire or incomplete answers to this question. Here, there is no problem that the question paper will be lost or the answers he is not giving correct or he will be getting a blank question paper. Why? Because the person himself is going there and he is taking the answers from the respondent. The information obtained is more reliable, more trustful. Why? Because enumerator is going there and asking the detail. Okay. Again the keyword complete, correct and relevant data we will be getting in this method. Second, in this method proper information is given to the respondent who are illiterate and non-cooperative. Then in this method there is no problem that the question paper will be lost or it will be blank or incomplete question will be there. And the third, it is more reliable. Is that clear? Now what are the disadvantages of it? Sometimes it is quite difficult to get expert enumerator in sufficient number. A person who is having a thorough knowledge, who is very polite, who is very honest, who is very knowledgeable, that kind of a person are very limited in this particular field. Okay, so difficult to get an expert. Second, due to large number of enumerator, the remuneration paid to the enumerator increases the total cost of inquiry. Now what is there? If you want an expert enumerator, then the remuneration means a salary should also be paid very nice to him. And if we are paying very nice salary to him, then the total cost of the inquiry will increase, means it will make it high, it will make it expensive. Third, It is very difficult task to train the untrained enumerator for the inquiry. Now a training to train an untrained enumerator, very difficult. How to make them a particular personality that they can go to the person face to face and they can ask the question to them. So it is one of the very difficult task. Why? Because we have to change the personality of that particular person. Even after training, it is not proper to believe that they will work skillfully, honestly or efficiently. After giving a proper training also, there is a doubt that whether he will be working or not. Hence, sometimes the information collected by them may not be reliable. Is that clear? So at time we can say that the person what he is collecting, that cannot be true. Fourth, this method become unsuitable when the respondent are spread over a wide area. In these circumstances, cost and time of inquiry increases. If large area is there, then unsuitable when the respondent are spread. Respondent means B person is spread in very large area, so it is not proper to get the detail, and it will be very cost and time consuming. It will increase the time also and it will increase the money also. Fifth, enumerator have to adjust with the convenient time of the respondent, or sometimes enumerators have to visit 2 or 3 times to the same respondent. Here the person cannot go according to his time. He has to adjust his time according to the respondent at whose place he want to go. And at times it happen also that in that particular time given by the respondent, he is unable to complete the question answers. So again twice or thrice he has to go there and he has to collect the detail. Means convenience of the respondent, according to the convenience of the respondent, he has to visit there. May happen that he will be going 2 times or 3 times over there. As a result, it becomes difficult to finish the inquiry within the stipulated time period. Stipulated means a given time period which is there. At that time period, it will be difficult for the enumerator to complete it. Is that clear? Again, we will see the disadvantages. First point, difficult if the expert is not there. Second, if we are taking expert enumerator, then the remuneration should be paid very nice to him, which will increase the cost of the inquiry. Third, very difficult to train the untrained person, and whether it is a doubt is there whether he will be collecting the details properly or not. So we cannot trust the particular detail. Fourth, if the area of the respondent is wide, very big, it will increase the time and money. And the fifth last, the enumerator has to go according to the convenience of the respondent, and it may happen he has to visit 2 or 3 times, which increase the particular date or which increase the time period of the particular inquiry. Is that clear? Now this 3 method we have seen. Clear here? Direct method, indirect method, and the method of quaternary. The method of quaternary is divided into 2 parts, that is post and that is enumerator. Is that clear? Among all the 3 methods of collecting primary data discussed earlier, there is no definite rule for using a particular method. The selection of a method of inquiry mainly depends on the following aspects. Now, no rule is given. These are 3 methods related to the primary data. Now, no particular rule is being made that how and where the method should be used. But according to the method of inquiry, they have given the following aspects. Spread of the area under the inquiry, that either it is very large or limited. The purpose of inquiry, the monetary provision, the time frame, possibility of getting expert enumerator, and the standard of accuracy. Spread of area under inquiry. Spread of area means the area is big or large. According to that we can identify, and according to that we can define the method. Purpose of inquiry, a particular result or purpose, why we want this particular inquiry, based on that we can find it. Monetary provision. Monetary provision means a particular person monetarily how he want to find the particular inquiry related to the monetary region. At that time we can define the method. Then the time frame, in which particular time period, what is the time period or what is the stipulated time period they have given. According to that we can use. If the time period is very less, then we can use the quaternary by post, okay, or we can use the quaternary by enumerator. In both direct and indirect method we can use them. Possibility of getting expert enumerator, if expert enumerator we want, then we can go with indirect method. Then the standard of accuracy, if we want a perfect result, then we can go to the direct method. So these are one particular points they have given. Based on that we can identify that which method we have to use. Now this was all about the primary data. Now coming to the last topic, that is secondary data. Sources of secondary data. Now that we are clear, secondary data means we are gathering the information and from any authorized institution or from any third person or any other person, then that particular information is known as secondary information. Primary information means the very first information which is being made by the person, that is known as primary. And secondary means we are taking the information any from organization or any from institution, any authorized organization, then that is said to be secondary data. There are two main sources of secondary data, that is published and unpublished. Now secondary data is divided into two parts, that is published and unpublished. 1 mark question. How many parts? Name the two main sources of secondary data. So that is published and unpublished. Secondary data from published sources. Published means who are publicly been given by some government, okay, any authorized institution, they are having the right to publish it, like that. Now in that first, government publication. There are number of central and state government organizations which collect statistical data and publish their findings in the interest of the public. Now there are government related to central and state, they are having the authority and they will be publishing it for the behalf of the public, on behalf of public to know the details. Some government publishers provide data on a periodical and regular basis. We can talk about the newspaper. Okay, these are some particular publishers who are being authorized by the government and they are working for the on the behalf of the public to give the details to us. This newspaper, what they are doing, they are giving the details to us on behalf of the government. For example, Central Statistical Organization, CSO, underline this full form. National Sample Survey Organization, NSSO, okay. Officer of the Registrar General and Census or Commissioner of India, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, ICAR, Statistical Abstract of Gujarat State, Statistical Outline, Gujarat State, Socio-Economic Review, Gujarat State. Now this all are one of the organization who are being issued by the government and they are giving the informations to public, okay. They are being authorized to give the informations to the public. From the published data of such government body, the information about the wholesale price index number, import-export, vital statistic, agriculture statistic, result of a population census can also be obtained. Now from all this data which are being published, from all this data we can get a number of informations. Second, semi-government publication. Semi-government publications such as Life Insurance Corporation of India, State Electricity Board, etc. regularly publish various types of important data. Now semi means they are half private and they are half government. They are said to be a semi. So the examples of semi organizations are given, that is Life Insurance Corporation, State Electricity Board. Okay, you can get a question that write the particular organization which are semi-government publications. So you have to write this particular things over here. International publication. International publication means internationally which particular organizations are there that we are getting the informations, the public are getting the information. So the names what they have given: United Nations Organization, UNO, okay, International Monetary Fund, IMF, International Labour Organization, ILO, publish their important data for the people. They are giving the information publicly and they are publishing it for the behalf of the public. Then the next, report of the research organization. Research institute like Ahmedabad Textile Industry Research Association, that is known as ATIRA, Physical Research Laboratory, that is PRL, Ahmedabad Salt and Marine Research Laboratory, Bhavnagar, Institute of Economic Growth, Delhi, National Council of Applied Economic Research, that is New Delhi, provide data in their publication related to any kind of a research. These are the names they have given. local self-government institution and autonomous educational institution, municipal corporation, Jilla Panchayat, agricultural universities publish their annual report. Now, these are all this local bodies and or this educational institution, municipal, then Jilla. These are also providing some informations for the public. From this particular point, you will be getting 1 mark questions that name the research organization, name the international publication, name the semi-government publication, name the government publication. Like this, you will be getting 1 mark questions. Then the next, publication of business and commerce organization, related to business and commerce. Which particular organizations are there? So the organization Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry publishes the General Economic Trend. What this particular organization is giving? This organization is publishing the detail related to economic trend. Then Institute of Chartered Accountant publishes their journal, the Chartered Accountant. Okay, they are institute, what they are giving, they are making some journal related to the accounts. Then the Institute of Foreign Trade publishes the journal related to the foreign trade review. Related to foreign trade review, what they are doing, they are showing related to the foreign business. Newspaper and periodicals, magazines, the data regarding economic, commerce, business, sports, etc. can be collected from different newspaper and periodicals, where we are getting the details related to the particular business, related to economic, related to business, related to sports. We are getting this all information in the newspaper, either in the magazines like Economic and Political Weekly, EPV, Commerce Business Today, Financial Express, etc. There are also important sources of getting secondary data. These are also used in the secondary data. Okay, so this were up till published sources. These are said to be the published sources. Next, secondary data from unpublished sources, the particular organization which are not being legally authorized by the government. Which are they? So here, some of the statistical data may not be published. Sometimes the data may be drawn on request from the unpublished internal record of private and public organization which are prepared for their reference. For example, salary of the employees, their length of service, their educational level, data regarding information of mutual fund in public and private sector companies, PhD, this of various universities, etc. Is that clear? Now, what is their secondary data? Some of these statistical data may not be published. There are many statistical data. There are some data which are not being published. Which are that data? Salary of the employees. Then service, length of the service. Length of the service means up till how many years the worker is working over there, the employees are working over there. What is the educational level? Then data regarding to the investment of the mutual fund, why the people are investing there. Then private sector's company, PhD. Related to this, we cannot have any kind of a data that should be published. Okay, so this all are said to be what? Unpublished sources. There is no need to publish them. Only this much is there for the secondary data of unpublished sources. Now, what precautions should be taken for using the secondary data? Precautions means what care should be taken for using the secondary data. A careful scrutiny must be done before using the secondary data. Scrutiny means we should be very careful, we should be having a proper investigation of it, and we should be having a thorough knowledge of it when we are using the secondary data. The reason is that such data may not be, the reason is that such data may be erroneous. Erroneous means having lots of error. Okay, this is the other word they have given about the error. Means this kind of a data having lots of error of inadequate sample size or may not be suitable with the purpose of the inquiry. At times it happened that the particular inquiry, the data which we are gathering, that particular data is not related to our inquiry or which is having lots of error in itself. Then next, what they are telling, such secondary data may not be useful for the statistical analysis, drawing conclusion and inference from the analysis. The data which we are taking, that may not be related to our study. Its analysis may not be related to our study. The conclusion which we are getting, that may not be proper. Then inference from the analysis, the answers, the result which we are getting, that may not be also proper. Therefore, before using such data, the following precautions should be taken. These are the points which you have to write and which you have to remember, that what are the precautions we have to take before considering or before using the secondary data. Now the first point, what they are telling. Now what is the first point? By using the secondary data, it should be verified as who has collected the data and from where the data is collected. So the first thing we have to do, we have to identify that which person has collected. Either the investigator is there or enumerator is there. If the enumerator is there, whether the enumerator is expert or not, and from which area we are collecting. Okay. Second, in this, the data obtained from the records of private organization may be less reliable, as private organization collect data according to their own ideology and prejudice. Why they are telling that the private organization will be having the less reliability? Because they have their own rules and regulations. If they want to give the report positive, so they can make some changes in it to make it positive. So prejudice or ideology, they can change their rules and regulation, they can do any kind of a differences in the particular study. That's why it is said that private organization is less reliable. So you can underline, verify who is collected and where the data is collected, and second, private organization is less reliable. Now second point, the purpose of collecting data must be relevant to the purpose of study. The particular topic for which we want to gather the information, only we should collect that particular data. At times had happened that a study topic is different and we are collecting the data differently. Then what will happen? The data will not be of use. We cannot use it if we have not collected the data according to our need. Third, the collected data must not be too old. It should not be having 3 years or 7 years old. It should be minimum 1 year or 7 month old. It should be relevant with the current time period. For example, price of grain, gold, petrol, etc. Is that clear? Fourth, before using secondary data, the matters regarding the scope of study, region of which data are collected, and definition of the term used in the data should be ascertained. The area should be clear, that what is the scope of study related to this data, what are its region, what is the need of collecting this particular data. The definition of the term should be clearly identified, should be seen. Okay. Fifth, direct use of estimated data should be avoided. Estimated, approximately, like that and this, that should be avoided. The estimates given in the data may be wrongly calculated. Is that clear? If they have written approximately this is the particular amount, or approximately it can be said, so approximately or estimated, supposing type, so they are not an accurate one, so that should be avoided. The method of collecting of the data be known so that investigator becomes familiar with its advantages and disadvantages. Now what kind of method is being used while collecting the data? If it is being clear, we become familiar with its advantages and disadvantages. If we came to know that it is a questionnaire method by an enumerator, so we are knowing the advantage and disadvantage. Is that clear? So the collection method should be known, so we can find its advantages also and disadvantages also. To get a proper benefit of secondary data, it should be used with the above precautions. If you want to use this secondary data, we should go through this particular precautions. Is that clear? Once again, with the clear keyword, that is first, that from where we are collecting the data and which area is there. Private organization data should be avoided because it is less reliable. Second, when we are collecting the data, the topic should be very clear, rather it is of no use. Third, it should not be too old. Fourth, we should see the matters regarding to the scope of data, that what is the need of the particular data. Fifth, the estimated data, supposing data should be avoided. And the sixth, the method of the data should be known so that we can identify the advantages and disadvantages. Is that clear? This we have done with the chapter. Here the chapter gets over with the point precautions while using the secondary data. Go through with it. If you have any query, you can ask me. Okay. Thank you.